Hello again, and welcome to Crazy Math Productions. Today we're going to be looking at solving the absolute value inequalities. We're going to focus on the inequalities part today. If you will remember some prior knowledge here, if you've followed Crazy Math Productions, conjunction is AND statement, and of course we affectionately referred to it as Conan the Barbarian. And I'm going to draw a Conan real quick. Of course, Conan is wielding his mighty spear here. Disjunction is an OR. Now, we also talked about this as a diorama, like you had in elementary school with the planets, and you could hang a little, had your sun, planets hanging around it, little diorama. Okay. We also talked about that the OR statement, of course, an OR, you could also think of a boat with their little oars. And the oars from the boat generally were going this way. So Conan the Barbarian wielding his spear, and statements generally looked like this, shaded between the points. And the OR statements generally were, like in the oars in the boat, away from the boat. So keep that in mind as we're going through. Now let's start with the conjunctions here. Now, the absolute value of x is less than 6. Now, when the little alligator here is facing away from the absolute value, this is an AND statement. Well, that's not exactly helpful. So what we're going to do, we're going to make the absolute value statement into a little house and turn this into a little alligator. Now we've got a door in the little house. In this case, you notice the alligator, my amazing alligator worm beast thing. Alligator is not eating the door, so the statement is not an OR. You can see on this case, make this into a little house, and the alligator, if you will, is eating the door, so the statement is an OR. Here, the alligator is eating the sand. You can kind of picture a beach, so the statement is an AND. So alligator eat the door, then the statement is an OR. Alligator eat the sand, then the statement is an AND. So keep that in mind. So let's check out our alligator here. Alligator is eating the sand. It's not eating the door on the house. Notice the door is right here. It's not eating the door, so it's not an OR. Alligator is eating the sand, so it's an AND. All right, so this is an AND statement, and we're going to, you remember, if you followed Crazy Math Productions, you can think of this as the Alice in the Looking Glass sort of feel. You keep it as normal, and you have this negative parallel dimension that you get from looking through the mirror. This is sort of the mirror. So you look into the mirror, splits it into two scenarios: the normal, positive dimension that you were looking at, and this strange negative parallel dimension. The problem is that if we've divided by a negative, which is how we've gotten the negative over here instead of over here, this has to have flipped. That's very important. If you have divided by a negative, which is how we got the negative over here, the original algebraic definition uses the negative here. So if we've moved the negative on the other side, we have divided by a negative. Well, that means we have to have flipped the sign. So we're going to go ahead and graph this. We have 6 and negative 6, 6 and negative 6. And this is a young man. Remember, we have old man knows when to keep his mouth shut. The young man keeps his mouth open and says many unwise things. So this is young man. He keeps his mouth open. And since this is an AND statement, don't forget Conan the Barbarian wielding his mighty Conan spear. So there's the Conan the Barbarian spear. Okay, let's look at number 1. It's a lot to process. Now, we have absolute value of x is less than 1/2. Now, the alligator, is he eating the door? No. So the alligator is not eating the door, so the statement is not an or. This is an and statement. And that was a little bit too big, but we'll go with it. Remember, this can be thought of as a mirror, like Alice in Wonderland, Alice through the looking glass. Alice looks in the mirror, and it opens up two sort of parallel dimensions. The nice positive dimension and the dark negative dimension. Now remember, if we've divided by a negative here, which is how we ended up with a negative on the side, we have to switch the sign around for the dark negative dimension. Okay, and so we have an and statement here. We're going to graph, I'm just going to put 0 here, positive 1/2, and negative 1/2. Now, this is old man or young man? This is young man. He keeps his mouth open. And so, all right, since it's an and statement, we think of Conan the Barbarian here with his mighty Conan spear. So it's going between the 2 points with this and statement. Okay. Now, in this situation, the alligator is not eating the door, so this is not an or statement. This is an and statement. Now, you think of the Alice in the Looking Glass, so looking in the mirror here, and we have two possibilities. We have the normal positive scenario. We also have the sort of negative, dark, mysterious. That makes this a negative, so the negative, dark, mysterious world. Also, if I've got a negative on this side, that means that this sign will have switched, because we divided through by negative to get the negative on this side to make it easier to understand. So we have these two different parallel worlds that we had opened up because we were looking through the looking glass. And we need to go ahead and solve both of these. So I'm going to divide through by 2. X is less than or equal to 4. And divide through by 2. X is greater than or equal to negative 4. So now we need to graph this. This is an old man. He's got a little wrinkle under his eye. So old man knows to keep his mouth shut. Since it's an and statement, we think of Conan the Barbarian and his mighty spear here. So we have solved and graphed. So we're ready to go. Okay, at this point, I would encourage you to try to pause the video and try to see if you can do it on your own. Let's see how you did. Alligator is not eating the door here. Think of this as the house. Alligator is not eating the door, so the statement is not an or. So we're going to set this up as an and statement. Of course, here, alligator is eating the door, the statement's an or. All right, so think of Alice in the Looking Glass. We're going to look in the mirror as looking glass. Looking in the mirror here opens up two different worlds. We have the regular positive world. We also have the dark, negative, mysterious world. And because we have that negative there, we had divided to get it over here. We're going to have to switch this inequality symbol. All right. We're going to go ahead and solve both parts. We're going to add 3 to both sides. X is less than or equal to 5. Add 3. X is greater than or equal to positive 1. So we have positive 1, positive 5. This is an old man because he has a little wrinkle underneath. So old man knows to keep his mouth shut. Since this is an and statement, we think of Conan the Barbarian and his mighty spear. All right. So we have solved and we have graphed. That's all we needed. Again, I would encourage you to go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do this on your own. Okay. Now, absolute value of 3x minus 4 is less than or equal to positive 2. Alligator is not eating the door, so this is not an or statement, so it has to be an and statement. Next up, we want to look at the mirror here, the Alice in Wonderland, opening up the normal sort of positive world, positive dimension, and we also have this other sort of dark, mysterious negative dimension. And since we had divided to get the negative over here, we have to switch that sign around. So now we have to solve each one of these parts. So we're going to add 4. 3x is less than or equal to 6. Divide through by 3x is less than or equal to 2. And we're going to add 4 to both sides. 3x is greater than or equal to positive 2. Divide by 3, and we get x is greater than or equal to 2/3. So now we solved it, we just have to graph it. So we have 2/3, we have positive 2. Now this is an old man, you can see with the wrinkles here under his eyes. So old man can keep his mouth shut. He's wise and knows when not to speak. This is an and statement, so Conan the Barbarian and his mighty spear. And there we go. Now let's try some on this side. We see alligator is eating the door, so it's an or statement. Breaks into the nice positive normal dimension and the sort of mysterious dark negative dimension. Since we had that negative, we went ahead and switched that sign since we had divided by negative to get it over here. So now this is an old man because he's got the wrinkles, so he knows to keep his mouth shut. Also, this is an or statement. Now remember, it's like you've got the boat here and the oars go away from the boat. And there's my or statement. Draw little oars here. All right, so let's try one. We're going to solve and graph. Absolute value of x is greater than 0. Well, the first thing is the alligator is eating the door of this little house. So if he's eating the door, then the statement is an or. Now think Alice in Wonderland. This is a sort of a normal, positive world. Or we have this negative. Now, negative, the opposite of 0 would just be 0, so that's kind of pointless. But because we did divide by a negative, we do have to switch this sign. Now let's graph it. Graph 0 and, well, 0. This is a young man, so he keeps his mouth open and says many unwise things because he's a young, foolish man. And now we need to put our boat, and the oars go away from the boat. There you go. Okay. Now, number 2. Let's try this. We have the alligator eating the door of the house. So the statement is an or. Now Alice is looking through her looking glass, her mirror, and we have the normal positive dimension. Or we have the dark, negative, mysterious dimension. And because we divided to get the negative over here, we have to switch this inequality symbol. Okay, so we need to solve each one of these parts. We're going to divide by 3. X is greater than 4. Or divide by 3. X is less than negative 4. I'm going to graph negative 4 and positive 4. Notice this is a young man. He opens his mouth and says many unwise things. And because this is an or, I'm going to draw a little boat, and the oars go away from the boat. This is an or statement. Okay, number 3. I would encourage you to go ahead and pause the video. Try to see if you can do it on your own. And let's see how we've done. Now the alligator's eating the door of this house, so this is definitely an or statement since the alligator's eating the door. Now let's think Alice in Wonderland. Alice looks through the mirror and it opens up 2 parallel worlds. The normal positive world or the dark, mysterious, negative world. Since we divided, if you'll go back to the last video, if you're wondering, what do you mean, how do we divide to get a negative there? In the last video, I showed you in the definition, the 6.4a, when we look at the algebraic definition, you actually have to take the opposite of this side, not that one. So we move it over to make it a little easier on ourselves by dividing by negative 1. So since we did that, instead of having a greater than symbol, now we have a less than symbol. We have to switch that. Okay, now we're going to solve. We're going to add 4 to both sides. 2x is greater than 6. Divide through by 2. X is greater than 3. Or add 4. Get 2x is less than 2. Divide through by 2. X is less than 1. And let's graph it. As we've solved it, now we're going to graph it. We get positive 1 here. Positive 3 here. This is a young man. It does not have the wrinkles under his eyes. So, young man. And since it's an or, we're thinking about our boat. So let's draw our little boat. And the oars are going to go in the water away from the boat. So we've solved and graphed, and that is my answer there. That I kind of missed. And missed again. Anyway, circle that, we're good. Okay, number 4. Let's go ahead and pause the video to see if you can do it on your own. Let's see how you do. The alligator's eating the door, so the statement is an or. Alice is looking into her mirror, her looking glass, and we're going to separate it into 2 parallel worlds. We have the nice, happy, positive world and the dark, mysterious, negative world. Now, since we had divided by negative to get this on this side, we have to switch the inequality symbol around. Now let's go ahead and solve this. Just add 10 to both sides. 4x is greater than or equal to 12. We're going to divide by 4, and x is greater than or equal to 3. Or, add 10 to both sides. We get 4x is less than or equal to positive 8. Divide by 4, and x is less than or equal to 2. So we've solved. Now let's graph. Positive 2, positive 3. This is an old man. He's got a little wrinkle under his eye. And so now we're going to use the oar, get our little boat, and put the oars into the water from the boat, the sides of the boat, so that you can actually move, to be helpful. And now we have solved, we have graphed, and we have completed the lesson. All right. Thank you so much for watching Crazy Math Productions. Have a good day.